U.S. senators introduced legislation that calls for term limits for Supreme Court justices. Currently, justices have life tenure on the bench. Some senators argue that term limits will help restore trust in our nation's highest court. Washington correspondent Rachel Knapp joins us live from D.C. tonight. Rachel, what do you think members think of this proposal?
Now, good evening, Nick. So some senators I spoke with say they're more interested in ethics reform, but Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who's one of the legislation sponsors, he told me this afternoon that he believes this bill will not only give more confidence for the public towards the court, but he also thinks it's going to be making a more fair process in that nominating process. Now, the legislation that Senator Manchin and Senator Peter Welch of Vermont have filed, it proposes a constitutional amendment which would make justices have non-renewable 18-year term limits. The president would appoint a new justice every 2 years, regardless of when a current justice leaves the bench. Now, if enacted, this would only apply to the new justices, not the ones currently serving their terms now. Senator Manchin tells me he's all for term limits across the board, not just at the court, but in the House and the Senate too. He believes this is the type of change that would restore confidence in the court, eliminate political gamemanship from the nomination process, and reinforce judicial independence. We also asked some other senators what they think of term limits for the court. While most of us tell us they haven't looked at this proposal itself, Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania says he doesn't have a fixed view of it yet, whether term limits should remain a lifetime or not, but he thinks term limits is something the Senate will have to wrestle with.
What do you think about just term limits in general for Supreme Court justices?
I don't know. I haven't. I'll have to give that some more thought.
And I just think as the time changes, you know, when you have someone's there 30, 20, 30, 40 years, times change. 18 years is a nice term.
The main thing that has to happen in the Supreme Court is major league ethics reform. That has to happen. And it has to be a code of conduct for Supreme Court justices, just like every other judge has, and it has to be enforceable.
Nick, some surveys show that public trust in our highest court is at some of its all-time lowest points. Now, there have been some other ways members or even outside groups are suggesting to try to change up the court. For example, one is to add more justices to the court. Another is by having more congressional oversight for the Supreme Court. Reporting live for WENY News, I'm Rachel Knapp. Nick, back to you.